And welcome in, sports fans, to today's Sports Roundtable. Glad you joined us for this roundtable edition of mid-January sports season, and pretty much in the latter half of the winter sports season now. And a lot of conference play taking place out there across southeast Missouri in high school basketball, which exciting time of the year. We're getting some of the big rivalry games at this point of the year in conference play. And it's going to make an exciting month heading into February and starting to get into some conference tournaments here in the next few weeks, which we'll talk about in our next here momentarily about the SCAA, the Stoddard County Activity Association Tournament, getting underway this week, this next week in Bloomfield. So that'll be exciting for next week, and then the following week will be the Boot Hill Conference Tournament down in Portageville. So some conference tournaments, and all the Tri-County Conference Tournament will be getting underway in a few weeks as well. So exciting time of the year here in late January, and then before you know it, about a month from now, probably about a month, we'll have district tournaments getting underway. So getting into the last half of the basketball season now, very exciting, and getting some big games on the schedule here in this month of January. And also we're going to take a look at, we're going to preview that Stoddard County Conference Tournament that's coming up this next week. Also, we're going to take a look at some games over the last few nights and give you some highlights of the games that we had this week. Dexter, New Madrid, also Bernie and Bloomfield from earlier in the week on Tuesday. And a look ahead of our broadcast schedule here on YHC. And also take a look at those state rankings for the state of Missouri. Got some teams there in the mix here from southeast Missouri. And also we'll take a look at the NFL Conference Championship weekend for Sunday. So big weekend and NFL football as well. So pretty exciting time of the year, and glad you joined us for today. Let's go ahead and get into some games from last night. And first taking a look at some games we had last night. A game we broadcast last night here on YHC. SEMO Conference matchup last night over in New Madrid, and Dexter got the road victory against New Madrid 50-48. Dexter secures that victory over New Madrid County Central, and a tight game throughout. New Madrid had the lead through a lot of that through the mid part of the game, but Dexter made a nice run in the second half to get the lead, especially in the fourth quarter. Dexter really closed out with a fine effort in the fourth quarter to secure that victory against New Madrid 50-48. And let's go ahead and take a look at some highlights from that game last night. Let's go ahead and take a look. And here starting off early, Andrew Ellinghouse getting the Bearcats started with a corner three. Donnie Brown getting a basket there in the paint for the Eagles. And here a nice little putback. That's Kevon Williams. Basket underneath for the Eagles. And nice step through Garrett Henson with a nice bucket underneath for the Bearcats. And inbound basket there from Kevon Williams. He had a big night for the Eagles there. Braxton Foster knocking down that baseline jumper. And Kevon Williams again there with a mid-range there for the Eagles. Johnny Walker, senior, stepping up and knocking down that three for the Eagles. And Seth Rogers getting a basket and the foul in transition for Dexter. Kick out three, and Nate Gargis knocks that one down. Seth Rogers knocking that one down. The assist from Gargis. And here, Thalen Marsh getting a drive to the basket, knocking that one down. And Johnny Walker stepping into that mid-range jumper there for the Eagles. And up down, Donnie Brown getting that one in the paint for the Eagles. And Johnny Walker getting a basket and the foul there for New Madrid. And pass on to the outside under Ellinghouse, knocking down that left wing three-pointer. And three-pointer on the right side again, and Ellinghouse here at the end of the second quarter. And three-pointer again, Ellinghouse knocking that one down on the right side. Spin move and nice dish off from Nate Gargis to Henson for the finish. One of the plays of the game there. And a nice putback there. Kevon Williams once again in the paint. There's Williams again knocking down that elbow jumper. He had it going last night for the Eagles. And a nice bucket underneath. Henson getting that one. Here's a lob pass to Kevon Williams for the jam. And Johnny Walker getting the steal and two dunks right in a row for the Eagles. Johnny Walker with that one. And here we'll see Braxton Foster knocking down that mid-range jumper. He had a nice night for the Bearcats with 17 points. And there's a jumper along the baseline. Another three-pointer on the left side. Thalen Marsh knocking that one down. Another elbow jumper. Braxton Foster getting it to go. And towards the end of the fourth quarter here, this is where New Madrid starts to make the run. They're down 3 here, knocking that one down. And nice backdoor cut, getting that one to go. Gargis with the finish. And here's where Dexter starts to separate themselves. Eric Hahn with a nice three-pointer on the left side. Big bucket there to put them up 4. And there's the last point there by New Madrid. Well, one of the last points, but by that point, Dexter really pushed it ahead with that lead there in the late the fourth quarter. And Dexter made a nice run. Eric Hahn hitting that 3. They were up 1 at that point with about a minute or 2 to go, knocking down that 3 to push it up to 4. Big shot there from Eric Hahn for the Bearcats, and the Bearcats pulled it out. They were without Seth Rogers for that second half. Seth Rogers took a hit to the head and late in the second quarter, so he was out much of that game. So the Bearcats really stepped up and played big in that second half without Rogers. So New Madrid just come up a bit short late. They didn't play their best ball there in the fourth quarter. They got off to a pretty good start in the first half, played well in the first half and through most of that third quarter. But the fourth quarter, they just kind of got lost there in the fourth quarter. They didn't come up with stops. Dexter did make some big shots. Braxton Foster really came up big for the Bearcats last night, scored 17 for the Bearcats. So he had a nice night, and Dexter moved the ball really well in that fourth quarter. They really got things moving. That backdoor cut we saw from Gargis going to the rim, and also that assist by Gargis was one of the great plays of the game. Spin move into the paint, dumped it off to Henson, and just great ball movement. That was the big difference late in that game for the Bearcats, the ball movement. And I think New Madrid went to that man-to-man a little bit there, and it probably cost them a bit as Dexter really executed well late in their offense in that fourth quarter. So a nice conference win for the Bearcats over New Madrid last night. And another games from last night in the area. Taking a look, we've got Sikeston and Kennett. Sikeston defeated Kennett in the SEMO Conference matchup last night. No problem for the Bulldogs, and really the season's been no problem for Sikeston this year so far. Big win there, 93-51. Big win for the Bulldogs last night over Kennett, and we'll talk more about them in our next segment. But big win, and we're seeing 30, 40-point victories. Pretty routine for the Bulldogs so far this year. And Portageville over Malden in the Boot Hill Conference. A Boot Hill Conference win for the Bulldogs last night, 48-39. Portageville over Malden. Also, we have Hayti over Crothersville. Boot Hill Conference matchup there last night, rivalry game, and Hayti pulls it out 61-55 over the Tigers. Also, we have Notre Dame over Saxony Lutheran, big 80-24. No problem for Notre Dame Bulldogs last night. Scott City over Perryville, 70-61. Kelly over Delta, 70-67. Close one there in that conference matchup. Kelly over Delta. Also, we have Oak Ridge over Chaffee, 65-59. And we have Campbell over Southland, 86-42. Campbell putting together a nice season this year, getting a victory over Southland, 86-42. And Campbell coming up with a victory earlier in the week against Crothersville. Conference victory for the Campbell Camels in the Boot Hill Conference over Crothersville earlier this week. I think that was like a 14-point victory. Campbell over Crothersville. That might have been going back to Friday night. It might have been last week, but it was within the last week, that's for sure. Woodland over Bloomfield, 76-68. Woodland over Bloomfield in the Stoddard County Conference last night. And also we have Bernie over Puxico, also in the Stoddard County Conference, 76-54. No problem for the Bernie Mules last night over Puxico. Meadow Heights over Advance, 67-61. Non-conference matchup there between those two. Webster Groves over Jackson, 71-60. Webster Groves over Jackson. Webster Groves out to St. Louis, taking on Jackson last night, getting the victory over the Indians. Also, we have over in the Superman Classic in Metropolis, Illinois, the Charleston Blue Jays over in that one, the 5th seed in that tournament. In the semifinals, they took on McCracken County of Kentucky and got the win, 50-44, beating the top seeded team, McCracken County of Kentucky. And the Blue Jays will advance on to that championship game. Presumably, I think that's going to be tonight. I know the weather is going to be playing a factor in that, so we'll see what happens there. But Charleston advancing on to that championship game over in that Superman Classic. And also we having girls basketball from, I think this is either last night or back to Thursday night. Hayti over Campbell, 62-50. Hayti with the victory over there over the Campbell. Also, we have another girls' games, 50-29, Chaffee over East Prairie. And we have Jackson over Notre Dame, 44-42 in the SEMO Conference. Jackson over Notre Dame. Kelly over Puxico, 63-31. No problem for the Kelly Lady Hawks over Puxico. Neelyville over Doniphan, 64-39. Neelyville. Really tough girls team once again this year, and that's an Ozark Foothills Conference victory over Doniphan last night. Also, we have New Madrid County Central over Charleston from Thursday night, 56-42. And Orion over Delta, 97-42 for the Orion Lady Eagles. Malden over Portageville, 42-38, and that's a Boot Hill Conference matchup between those two. Saxon Lutheran over Cape Central, 55-39. Sky County Central over Scott City, 78-39. Holcomb over Zenith Hornersville, 50-47. Poplar Bluff over Sykeston, the SEMO Conference, 64-42. And Kennett over Twin Rivers, 54-39. And those are the games from the last few days through the area in boys and girls basketball. And taking a look, speaking of that Dexter New Madrid County Central game, that replay you can watch today, later on today at noon, Saturday at noon, and then 6:30 this evening, and then Sunday afternoon at 3. Watch that Dexter versus New Madrid County Central broadcast from last night, Friday night, right here on YHC. You can go and watch anytime on demand at our website, on our website at yhctv.com, or our Facebook and YouTube pages. You can watch that on demand online. Dexter versus New Madrid County Central. Good one all the way down to the end. Dexter got the 2-point victory, and a great game all the way down to the end in that SEMO Conference matchup. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and take a look at those Bloomfield and Bernie highlights from Tuesday night that we had the broadcast earlier in the week. Also going to take a look at some headlines from the area from this week to take away, and also take a look at the Stoddard County Conference Tournament getting underway Monday in Bloomfield. We're going to preview that tournament coming up in our next segment. So we'll take a break and be right back.
At Glensane, we realize that buying a vehicle is a very big purchase. Our people enjoy visiting with our customers and working every deal to save them money. Customers see these special prices on the internet, but then must have a trade-in, must finance X amount of dollars. At Glensane, we'll show you exactly what price you're going to be getting. We'll show you the Glensane price is better, and you'll enjoy your visit. That's what we do at all 4 Glensane locations. Best price, best service. Glensane, and God bless our troops.
At Ag Explore, we're farmers too. So we know that farming's never been a 9-to-5 job. Just like the farmer, we work overtime to bring you whatever it takes. Solutions like InZone help you retain 47% more nitrogen, with an overall average increase of 12 bushels per acre. Imagine what InZone can do for you. Ag Explore.
And welcome back, and let's take a look at the highlights from Bloomfield. I said Booney. Bloomfield and Bernie. Bloomfield and Bernie from earlier in the week. We had a Tuesday night broadcast in Bernie and that Stoddard County Conference matchup. And take a look at the highlights from that Tuesday night. Take a look at that. And here early on, we got a nice little scoop shot up and underneath for the Wildcats. I think that was Parker Eaton with that one. And nice drop step and finish for Andrew Gohagen. And here, three-pointer up and good for Hunter Slavings, top of the key for the Mules. And we see your nice dish off underneath, finish for the Wildcats at the rim. And nice transition bucket here. Carson Blair getting that layup in the transition for the Wildcats. Blake Hardy knocking down that three on the right wing for the Mules. And we see here nice dish off from Malik Williams for the finish for Bloomfield. And we see here a basket and the foul. Blake Hardy getting that one to go. Three-pointer, Skylar Schwint knocking that one down. Bernie really had the three-point shot going down early. And three-pointer up and in there. I think that was, I can't catch who that was. Three-pointer, Weston Zoll in the corner for the Mules. As I said, they had the three-point shot going. And basket and the foul for Blake Hardy again. And Skylar Schwint saves that one ahead to Blake Hardy. Gets another basket and the foul. Converts a couple three-point plays there for Blake Hardy. And a nice finish at the basket there from Gage McNeil. Three-pointer on the right side again. Up and in for the Mules. Got it going on here. Another three-pointer. Blake Hardy at the top of the key. Knocking that down. Cross-court pass. And a finish there at the mid-range. 2-on-1 break here. Nice behind the back from Blake Hardy for the finish there. Inbound. Three-pointer on the right side. Up and in. I think that was Slavings on that one. And another three-pointer on the right side. Getting that one to go. Zoll with that finish. Three-pointer on the left side. Carson Blair knocking that one down on the left side. And drive to the basket up and in for Slavings. And in the Carson Blair knocking down another three-pointer on that left side. Blair again with the finish for the Wildcats. And Gage McNeil knocking down that deep high arcing three for the Wildcats. Three-pointer on the right side. I think that was Zoll there on the right side. Landon Zoll had a big night for the Mules. And a basket and the foul there for the Mules. Still in the transition. Hardy gets that one to go. And three-pointer on the right side. Once again, Zoll with that finish. And nice little runner in the mid-range there for the Wildcats. And Zoll, Weston Zoll knocking that one down in the left corner. And nice drive to the basket. It's Carson Blair with a finish there. And Bernie getting that victory earlier in the week. They get the score in there. But pretty handily victory there for the Mules from Tuesday night. And Bernie looking good coming into this Stoddard County Conference tournament. Got to look out for these Mules as they're going to be the second seed in the Stoddard County Conference tournament. Taking a look at the conference tournaments. We'll first start off with the JV tournament for that Stoddard County Activity Association tournament this week. And the top seeded Dexter Bearcats will be the number one seed. And in the semifinal round for that JV tournament. And in the first round will be Woodland versus Puxco in that quarterfinal. And the winner of that will take on Dexter in the semifinals. And in the other semifinal is second seeded Bernie versus third seeded Bloomfield. And that'll be a good game. In that JV game the other night, Bernie took on Bloomfield, and that was a pretty close game, right down to the wire. Bernie got the win in a close one, but that should be a good semifinal matchup in that JV tournament between Bernie and Bloomfield. Just looking at that from Tuesday night in that JV contest, that should be a close one between those two in that conference tournament. So that should be a game to watch there in that semifinal. And, of course, Woodland and Puxco will battle it out to take on Dexter in that other semifinal game. And Dexter and Bernie have played twice in the JV ranks. We Dexter and Bernie in the regular season a couple weeks ago, or actually last Friday night, those two played, and Dexter got the close victory over Bernie in that one Friday night. Then they turned around and played again Saturday morning in the Malden JV tournament. And I believe that was in the championship game, if I'm not mistaken there. Either way, they played in that JV tournament in Malden Saturday, and Dexter defeated Bernie in that one as well. Had a big lead early, and then Bernie closed the lead late, but Dexter did get the victory in that JV game against Malden in that Saturday games. So they played back-to-back. They played Friday night and then Saturday. I think that might have been in the morning or even a afternoon game there. Saturday, within 24 hours, they played 2 games. Dexter come out on top of both of those against Bernie. So we'll see what happens. Should be an interesting matchup there. And that JV rank, you got Dexter, Bernie, and Bloomfield all right there in the mix. Dexter also did face Bloomfield in the JV game regular season a couple weeks back, and Dexter got that victory over Bloomfield as well. Pretty close game, but Dexter did pull out the victory, so Dexter undefeated in the conference. Bernie only taking that loss to Dexter. So between those 3 teams, you never know what might happen, but Dexter does have the inside track there as the number 1 seed, and beat both of those teams, Bernie and Bloomfield. So should be a good matchup there in that potentially in that championship game, and certainly in that semifinal with Bloomfield and Bernie. So look forward to that one this week in Bloomfield in that JV conference tournament. And take a look at the varsity tournaments. Take a look at the varsity tournament now. And Dexter with a number 1 seed. Big game between Dexter and Bernie last Friday night that pretty much decided that number 1 seed. Dexter come out on top, so they took the number 1 seed. They take on Bell City in the first round, the 8th seed. Then 4th seeded Richland versus 5th seeded Woodland. 4th Richland versus 5th Woodland. Also, we've got Bernie versus Puxco in that 2-7 matchup. And Advance versus Bloomfield in that 3-6 matchup. Advance been they lost some big players last year, notably Michael Hood and Armani Vermillion, but they do bring back a competitive team this year. So Advance played Bernie pretty close, lost by 5, and Advance has gotten some nice wins in the conference. So that potential semifinal matchup there between Bernie and Advance could be a good one. There in Bloomfield, that'll be, I think, Thursday night, and that semifinal game should be a good one as they played as an 85-80 win for Bernie over Advance in that semifinal. Should be another close one there between those two, I would assume, on a neutral court. So that last one was at Advance, Bernie at Advance, where Bernie defeated Advance by 5. Could be a neutral court this time potentially in Bloomfield on Thursday in the semifinal. Should be a good one there. Dexter. You never know. Richland and Woodland. I don't know. Richland's looked good at times this year, and got some impressive victories. And they've kind of not as impressed as much in some cases. But that Richland Woodland game could be a close one between those two. That should be a good first round matchup. Probably the closest matchup you'll see there in the first round between those two. So Dexter could play either Richland or Woodland in that semifinal. So we'll see what happens. Dexter has defeated both those handily already. Dexter over Richland and Woodland. So I would certainly expect Dexter in that championship game with potentially a championship game against Bernie or Advance, depending on how that plays out. So certainly the most anticipated game would be another rematch between Dexter and Bernie. That game came down to the wire where Dexter won by just a few points over Bernie, so it should be a great matchup between those two. Actually, it was a 4-point victory. 4-point victory over with Bernie and Dexter. Dexter over Bernie by 4. Should be a great matchup there in another championship game. That'd be great. It's always a great matchup between Dexter and Bernie. If you can get that in a conference title game, as we got last year. Bernie won that conference tournament last year over Dexter. Dexter had some injuries. Just couldn't overcome, and Bernie cashed in and took advantage and won that conference tournament last year. And it could be a great matchup once again this year if they played in that championship game. And that's always the anticipated matchup between those two. We might just get it once again. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a Bernie-Dexter final in both the JV and varsity tournaments. And Bernie really looked good the other night against Bloomfield, even without Josh Ellenberg. Didn't have him for that game. He should be back going forward with the Mules. And Landon Zoll came in and had a big night. Had double-digit scoring. Him and Weston Zoll, brothers there, really good shooters from behind the three-point arc. But they had it going. Hunter Slavings had it going from 3. Blake Hardy had it going from 3. And they look really good. So, could be a great tournament. And I always expect a great final night, which we'll get to in our broadcast schedule. We will be there for the final night on Friday, for that Stoddard County Conference Tournament in Bloomfield. So look forward to that next Friday night here on YHC. And now let's take a look at some headlines from the last week and just give you some headlines from the last few days and even the week of action in the areas. We mentioned Dexter over New Madrid County Central in that SEMO Conference matchup. That's Dexter's first SEMO Conference victory of the year. I've had some tough ones on the schedule, notably Charleston. Charleston and Jackson in the SEMO Conference. They do have Kennett coming up. That'll be a great matchup in the SEMO Conference. Those two teams match up pretty well. And Dexter already got a victory over Kennett in the SEMO Conference tournament. Kennett defeated them in the Bloomfield tournament, Bloomfield Christmas tournament. So they'll have a rubber match. I think that'll be in a couple weeks. That'll be a couple weeks here in Dexter between those two. And both those going for a conference win. Those conference wins are tough to come by. They really are. And Dexter's taken a few losses in the conference already. Got one last night against New Madrid. New Madrid was one of those, Dexter New Madrid, that's a close matchup between those two. And as tough as the conference is, getting a conference win is huge. And both teams having an opportunity last night, but Dexter really executed late and got that conference victory over New Madrid. So put that in the books for Dexter for a SEMO Conference victory last night. And take a look at some other headlines. Sikeston remains undefeated, and what a season they're having this year. And defeating Kennett last night, right at a 39-point victory for Sikeston over Kennett last night. And defeated Farmington earlier in the week on Tuesday night. That was a big win as well. I think that they pushed 30 points in that one, defeating Farmington on the road in Farmington Tuesday night. Farmington, a state-ranked Class 4 team. And no problem for the Bulldogs. This Bulldogs team is serious. They're going to be state title contenders, I think, this year, and they have been the last number of years. They went state the last couple of years and done well, but just falling short of that state championship. But they're going to be right there in the mix this year. I know Fred Thatch, losing him from last year's team, and they lost another contributor as well. I think Dylan, I can't remember his name, but anyways, did lose a few from last year's team. But man, this junior class that's moved up to the senior ranks this year, they're awful good. Kevin Jones been a dynamic guard for Sykes in the last 2 years. He's really stepped up his game. And those Long twins, Parker and Owen Long, really nice guards for the Bulldogs. And then you throw in Trey Jenkins, who's been there in the mix since a freshman. I think he's a senior this year. He's playing great. And standing at about 6'7", 6'8", long, really athletic, runs the floor well, and defends great. Great defender at the basket. Is even starting to refine some of those offensive skills as well. So and then you've got I know I have the roster right in front of me, but a key couple guys that are underclassmen that have contributed at the varsity level the last few years. Now they're upperclassmen as juniors. And they're really playing well as upperclassmen now, and that just comes with experience and maturity. And, boy, I'll tell you, this is a great team from Sikeston, a better team from last year. They really do, especially at this time of year. Sikeston struggled at this point of the year last year, and they're hitting all cylinders at this point of the year when you're blowing teams out 30 and 40 points, even if they're state-ranked teams. So look out for these Bulldogs to make a great run in the Class 4 state tournament. They do have a tough district, Cape Central. Right there behind them in the state rankings. We'll get to that in just a moment. Cape Central's right there. Sikeston handled Cape Central pretty good early in the year in that SEMO Conference tournament. They do have a regular season matchup that'll be big, not only for the district that will decide that Class 4 District 1 top seed, which really won't matter a whole lot, that number 1 and 2 seed, but also the SEMO Conference tournament regular season champion. That could very well be the regular season championship between those two, between Sikeston and Cape Central. Going back to the district, what does matter is the district is in Cape Central, at Cape Central this year. They're in Cape Girardeau. Sikeston doesn't play near as well in that Cape Central gym. That's always been just, a difference between playing at Sikeston or anywhere else for that matter. The district's been at Dexter quite a bit. Playing at Dexter or Sikeston, that Cape Central gym. The Cape Central gym's a little different. They got that wall on one side that's just completely orange behind the backboard. It's just different, just seeing orange behind a goal. It can play with you as a shooter for sure. But that'd be a great matchup potentially in that district championship. They're like number 1 and 2 in the state, which we'll get to the rankings in a moment. And potentially playing in the district championship as the top 2 ranked teams in the state would be something. Be quite a story there in Cape. So that's something to look out for. But these Sikeston Bulldogs are for real, undefeated, and really not being tested so far in the year. So we'll see what happens going forward. But they are the real deal, the Sikeston Bulldogs. Oh, also on a side note on that, Greg Hallfield, coach for the Sikeston Bulldogs, gets his 400th victory at Sikeston, and he's just a few victories short of 500. That 500 is kind of the gold standard of high school basketball coaching. You reach 500, and that's just a handful of people that reach those kind of wins at the high school level. And I think he's just 2 or 3 short. I think as a career, he's got around 497 or 498, so he's just 2 or 3 short of the 500 as a career, but he got his 400th win at Sikeston, and having a great career there at Sikeston. But he also coached previously at Zenith Hornersville and Kennett, and maybe even another location. But I do remember Zenith Hornersville and Kennett before Sikeston. So he's just a tad short of that milestone of 500 victories. So there's only a handful of coaches that have got 500 victories. I know, Ronnie Cookson, Scott County Central's got 500. Lennis McFerrin of Charleston, New Madrid, and also Kennett has got 500 plus victories. I think Carol Cookson might have 500. I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that one. But Carol Cookson as well had a long tenure, and he might have 500. Might be the case. I might be wrong. But just about a handful of coaches in the area have got 500 victories. I know Danny Farmer might be there close. I know he had some girls. Yeah, he had quite a girls' tenure, especially with Scott County Central. Danny Farmer did, and including the girls' victories, he certainly may have 500 as well. But it's hard to come by 500 wins. You got to put in probably at least 20 years to be able to get those 500 victories. You think about 20 seasons, you got to average, kind of have to average about 20 plus victories a year to be able to get 500 over 20 years. If you're great for 20 years, you can get it in 20 years, but usually it takes a little bit longer than 20 years, because you got to have at least about 20 wins a season to get to that, or over 20 wins a season to get to that 500 mark. So congratulations to Greg Hallfield on 400 at Sikeston, and just a few victories short, and he'll surely get that 500th victory this season. So quite a run Greg Hallfield's had in his career, and as well as Sikeston. And another news, Hayti getting a nice Boudreaux Conference victory over Caruthersville, so they got the inside track to get that top overall seed in that Boudreaux Conference tournament, and that'll be held in Portageville in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about that later on as we get closer to that. But Hayti having a great year, and getting a win over Caruthersville's nice to get that inside track to that Boudreaux Conference top seed. That top seed is important in the Boudreaux Conference because it's so competitive from about 1 through 5. So you want to have your easiest games for sure in that first round, especially, and in that semifinal round, because those semifinal games, they can be tough if you got a late, if you got a late game that you really exert a lot of energy and potentially go into overtime for, and then come back and play in a championship game the next night, it can make it awful tough for you that championship night. So you want to have the easiest road possible to not exert as much energy in those early games, and then be able to play at full strength or near full strength on that championship game. So a 3 seed is tough in that Boudreaux Conference because you're playing a 6 seed, which you probably expect to get by, but then you get into that semifinal game and play a 2 seed. Well, that could be a tough matchup, and then turn around and if you were to advance, playing a championship game against potentially a 1 seed in that championship night, and the same thing for a 2 seed. You in that 2 seed, play a 3 seed, and turn around and potentially play a 1 seed in the final. But even 4 seed, it's even worse. You play a 1 seed in that semifinal, and it's single elimination. There's no third place game in the Boudreaux Conference tournament, so you lose in that semifinal, you're out. So securing that top seed is huge in the Boot Hill Conference tournament. And again, that's held in Portageville in a couple of weeks, the week after this coming week. They're in Portageville, so that'll be a great tournament to look out for. And of course, we're there for the final night of it, of that Boot Hill Conference tournament. Excuse me, sorry, it's not at Portageville. I'm thinking of the district, the Class 2 District 1 tournaments at Portageville. The Boot Hill Conference tournament's at Zenith this year, Zenith-Hornersville High School in Zenith. So that's where the conference tournament's at this year. Misspoke, got those backwards between the district and the conference. Boot Hill Conference tournament's at Zenith-Hornersville High School this year in just a couple weeks. So be looking forward to that in a couple weeks there in the Boot Hill. And also taking a look at Clarkton. Big news in Clarkton this year. Clarkton secured a win earlier in the week, actually Thursday night over Cooter. They won by about 30 points over Cooter in the Tri-County Conference. And Clarkton got the inside track to not only get the top seed in the conference tournament, but win the regular season championship in the Tri-County Conference. Clarkton got a nice Thursday night victory over Cooter. And they got a couple more conference games. I think they've got Southland and North Pemiscot on the schedule for this next week. And Clarkton going to be potentially a #1 seed in that Tri-County Conference tournament. I know Risco's looking to three-peat as Tri-County Conference champs. And they've had a rough January. Nathan Burnett, top guard for the Risco Tigers, been out with an injury. He's getting back into the mix now, but he was out for some time. They've suffered. They've suffered because of it, and you just certainly will with a talent like Burnett being out. But Risco is going to be right there in the mix come the end of the year, certainly in the conference tournament, Tri-County Conference tournament at Gideon this year. Coming up, I think that one's in a couple weeks as well, if not next week. I think, yeah, it's in a couple weeks, the week after next. And same week as the Boot Hill. And it's going to be a good tournament. Potentially Clarkton and Risco there in the end, but Clarkton got the inside track, and I would certainly expect them to get victories over North Penn and Southland this next week and secure that Tri-County Conference championship in the regular season in that Tri-County Conference. So certainly mixing it up there in the Tri-County Conference this year is Clarkton. So we'll be looking forward to that tournament a couple weeks down there in Gideon as well. Should be a good one there in the end. And we're going to take one more break, and we're going to take a break, come back with those state rankings for the area, and we're going to take a look at our broadcast schedule as well, and then give you a little peek into the NFL Conference Championships this weekend as well. We're going to take a break and be back with that coming up.
Over 100 years, that's how long Farm Credit has been there for our friends in the agricultural community. Whether your farm needs an operating line of credit, equipment or farm real estate financing, or crop insurance, Farm Credit has the tools you need to help your operation grow and be successful. We are dedicated to make the extra effort to understand your operation and your needs. Agriculture and Farm Credit is here to stay. Stop by or give us a call and let us help you find the best solutions for your operation's success.
If you or your loved one has disabilities that cause you to need a little help, Boot Hill Area Independent Living Services can provide the assistance you need. At Bales, we want you to have control of your life and assist you in thriving in an independent lifestyle. The Consumer Directed Services Program allows you, the consumer, to choose who assists you in conducting your daily activities. Bales serves Stoddard, Dunklin, New Madrid, and Pemiscot counties. Call or visit our office in Kennett to see how we can help you maintain your independence.
At Baldwin Ford Lincoln Toyota, we are an exclusive dealer with lifetime warranties on over 800 new and pre-owned vehicles.
Did you know all new Toyotas come with a lifetime warranty?
And all new Fords come with a lifetime warranty.
And most pre-owned come with a lifetime warranty. Baldwin Ford Lincoln Toyota, where we all win. With Baldwin.
And welcome back, and let's take a look at some state rankings for Missouri high school basketball. And these are a few weeks old. We didn't get a new poll for this week from the Coaches Association, but just taking this back from a few weeks back. Dora on top at #1 in Class 1, South Iron, Winston, Eminence, Mound City, Lakeland, St. Elizabeth, Jefferson, Medville, and Halfway. There are your rankings there for Class 1. Just notable there. Eminence, the defending Class 1 state champions. They're going to be right there in the mix, and they're underway with their conference tournament out there. And South Iron is the top seed, Eminence the 2 seed. And should be interesting there between those two. And I think they might be sharing the same district as well. So that could be certainly a great matchup there, South Iron and Eminence. Out there out west, not only in the conference, but potentially in the district as well. And in Class 2, Milan on top of number 1, East Buchanan, Greenwood, Mansfield, Oran. The Oran Eagles there at number 5. Hartville, Hayti at number 7. Crane, Adrian, and Verona. So we got some Southeast Missouri teams there, Oran and Hayti, and what a matchup that would be if they match up in the, potentially, I think that would be the sectionals if they matched up in Class 2 in the sectionals, which are going to be in Sykeston. Going to be in Sykeston this year, which we'll be looking forward to bringing that over to Sykeston later on in the year next month. But could be a great matchup potentially between those two, but certainly have to get through their districts first. And take a look at Class 3, Vashon at number 1 in Class 3, Springfield Catholic, Southern Boone, Trinity Catholic, Father Tolton Catholic, Monroe City, Licking, Blair Oaks, Palmyra, and Hallsville. No area teams there in the Class 3. In Class 4, the Sykeston Bulldogs on top at number 1, followed by their district and Seymour Conference foe, the Cape Central Tigers, right there neck and neck at 1 and 2. And followed by Grandview, Farmington, Raytown South, Warrensburg, Rolla, Sullivan, Rogersville, and Union. And amazing there, those two there at the top. Cape Central's only loss so far coming to Sykeston in that Seymour Conference tournament. And they're at number 1 and 2. So big matchup there potentially not only for the conference but for the district. We'll probably see them 2 more times this year in the conference in the regular season and potentially in that district championship. In Class 4 District 1 at Cape Central this year, by the way. So, and as you see there, Farmington at number 4, they got 2 losses on the year now. They got one against Sykeston and about a 30-point loss to Sykeston earlier this week on Tuesday. And again, as I said, Sykeston is rolling. And in Class 5, Webster Groves won. Jackson took on Webster Groves there. Number 1 ranked team in Class 5. Did take a loss, but did play the number 1 team in Class 5, Webster Groves, followed by Rockhurst, McClure North, Christian Brothers College, Rockbridge, DeSmet, Fort Zumwalt South, Chaminade, Melville, and Francis Howell. And those are your boys' state rankings. And I give you a little insight into the girls' rankings. Saxon Lutheran, I believe, at number 5 in Class 3. In Class 4, Dexter is number 6, I believe. Number 6 in Class 4. And Jackson, the Jackson Lady Indians at number 8 in Class 5. So a couple girls teams there in the mix in the girls' state rankings as well. And let's take a look at our broadcast schedule, the games that we've got coming up here on YHC that you can look forward to over the next few weeks. And take a look at this week's games. Tuesday night, the 22nd, we're going to be down in Gideon. Big Tri-County Conference matchup there. Risco at Gideon. We'll bring that to you live Tuesday night from Gideon. Always a good matchup between those two. We'll be looking forward to that one Tuesday night, 7:30 start. Watch live here on YHC. And Thursday night, we'll have Zenith Hornersville at Clarkton. Zenith Hornersville at Clarkton in that Thursday night matchup. That's a non-conference matchup there in Clarkton, Thursday night on the 24th. Then next Friday night, we've got the final night of the Stoddard County Activities Association Tournament and JV and varsity tournaments. And that starts at 4 o'clock. It's an early start, late afternoon start there at 4 o'clock in Bloomfield. That'll be the JV third place game at 4, followed by the varsity third place game at 5:30. Then the JV championship at 7 o'clock. Then the nightcap at 8:30 is the varsity championship. So 4 games slated there in Bloomfield for the Stoddard County Activities Association tournaments, JV and varsity, and those 4 games starting at 4 o'clock there in Bloomfield. And the next week we've got, a Tuesday night game on the 29th, Twin Rivers at Bernie. Twin Rivers at Bernie should be a good matchup there between those two. There on Tuesday the 29th. We'll bring that one live to you from Bernie. Then that Thursday night, the 31st, we'll have our girls game, one of our girls games, Naylor at Dexter from the Bearcat Event Center. Then the next night, Friday, we'll have the Budo Conference Finals from Zenith Hornersville, or at Zenith High School, Zenith Hornersville High School in Zenith. They're on February 1st, and that'll be the JV Championship at 6, and then the Varsity Championship at 7:30. 2 games there in the Budo Conference Finals. And then the next week, we've got a Monday night game, girls, on February 4th, Notre Dame at Dexter, and that night, Dexter will recognize Shaylee Mosby for scoring 2,000 points in her career at Dexter. A big milestone, rarely met in high school basketball. You got to be a great player for all 4 years, and that certainly has been the case for Shaylee Mosby. They're going to recognize her on that night. We'll be there Monday on February 4th, Notre Dame at Dexter. And then that Tuesday night, February 5th, Bernie at Hayti. Big matchup there, regular season. Could be potentially a district championship there matchup. And they're in the Class 2 District 1. Was the district championship last year, where Hayti advanced over Bernie. And a big game last year. And we'll be looking forward to that at Hayti there on February 5th. Then Friday night, February 8th, we've got Kennett at Dexter. Big SEMO Conference matchup to look forward to there in Dexter there on February 8th. And then February 11th, we got Cooter at Campbell. Cooter at Campbell there on February 11th. And a few more games after that, but that's for the next few weeks to look forward to here on YHC. So quite a few games to go here on YHC. Hopefully you'll tune in for those the rest of the way, and got quite a few good games there left on the schedule here on YHC. And take a look ahead to the NFL playoffs this weekend. Sunday, we've got conference championships, the NFC Championship, the Los Angeles Rams at the New Orleans Saints at the Superdome in New Orleans. That'll be the first game at 2:05 on Fox. Should be a great one. The Saints defeated the Rams earlier in the year in New Orleans, and Saints jumped out on them early. Rams did make a run late, but just fell short. And the Saints will be without their tight end for this game, Ben Watson. He's had appendicitis, been in the hospital, just unable to recover. He will be out for this NFC Championship game, but he will be will be back for a potential Super Bowl. It will be back for a potential Super Bowl if the Saints were to advance. But the Saints will be without Ben Watson, but the Rams will have Aqib Talib back, star cornerback, as he missed, I think, 9 games of the season. Missed that game with the Saints earlier in the year, and they've been quite a better defense with Talib there in the rotation and the starting lineup. So that Rams defense has been much better with Talib, and he's going to be in that NFC Championship game tomorrow afternoon. So should be a great game between the Rams and the Saints, the number 1 and 2 seeds. Saints the 1 seed, the Rams the 2 seed. Tomorrow afternoon, Sunday afternoon in New Orleans. And the AFC Championship game to follow tomorrow late afternoon. The Patriots, the 2 seed, the New England Patriots, the 2 seed at the top seeded Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. 5:40 start on CBS. Should be another great matchup. This was a track meet, a shootout earlier in the year. I think that was week 6 in New England. And New England survived with a 43-40 victory, and the Chiefs put up a big number. I think they put up about 31 points. 31 points in the second half, and just come up a bit short. They did get the lead late in the game, but the Patriots made the plays late with a field goal to win 43-40. And the Chiefs are 3-point favorites in that one over the Patriots. And the Chiefs' defense isn't great, but, man, they're great at home. They're one of the worst passing defenses in the league, but that's largely due to the road games. They've been really bad on the road against the pass, but about a middle of the pack of the league at home, but they're one of the best pass rushing teams in the league at home. At home, they're the top for home teams. The Chiefs are the top pass rushing team in the league. They got some great pass rushers. D Ford, Justin Houston as pass rushers out on the edges, and also Chris Jones there in the middle as a defensive tackle. They really get after the passer, and that'll probably be the story of the game, whether the Chiefs can get to Tom Brady for the Patriots, and if Brady can handle the pass rush and make plays in the passing game, that's probably what it's going to come down to. I know they're going to try to go. I know they'll go to the running game, try to get Sonny Michel into the running game. He had a great game last week. They're going to really try to rely on that running game. Use the play action to go down the field. Gronkowski, Edelman, Dorsett. I know that's going to be what they're going to come out to do. But if the Chiefs can stop the run, force the Patriots to go to the passing game, get a lead early, force Patriots to go to that passing game, pretty predictable passing game early on, turn those pass rushers loose, Justin Houston, D Ford, and Chris Jones on Brady. That's going to be the game plan for the Chiefs. And, of course, the Patriots want to establish that run and work their play action. They've been one of the best play action teams in the league this year. It's just on the road they haven't been able to do that. They were undefeated at home, 3-5 on the road in the regular season. That defense just doesn't travel well, and certainly the Chiefs' defense doesn't travel well either. That's why home field advantage was such a big deal there in the AFC. And the Chiefs got home field, got probably the MVP and Patrick Mahomes in that passing game with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Sammy Watkins. Going to be tough to beat. So should be a great game between those two in that AFC Championship game. The Chiefs are 3-point favorites, and that's probably right. And if it was at New England would probably be 3-point favorites. So home field is a big deal and could certainly be a factor in this one with that home field advantage that the Chiefs have. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a Chiefs victory over the Patriots. Wouldn't be, the Patriots certainly capable of knocking off the Chiefs on the road just with their preparation, Bill Belichick, and what they do. But, man, it's just both teams have been so good at home, and certainly the defenses hadn't, and the offenses as well, just haven't been the same on the road, especially the defenses. Patriots defense just hasn't traveled well, and the Chiefs offense has just really played well at home. So that's the matchup there. And going back to the NFC Championship game, the Saints are 3.5-point favorites over the Rams in that NFC Championship game. So basically a field goal favorite for both the Saints and the Chiefs in those conference championships. So look forward to those on Sunday on Fox and CBS. The winner, of course, advancing on to the Super Bowl in a couple weeks, a couple more Sundays in Atlanta this year. So I'll be looking forward to Super Bowl 53 in Atlanta on CBS. And that's going to wrap it up for today. That's all we got for you. Be sure to tune in for that Dexter New Madrid County Central replay. If you want to watch that here on YHC, we'll have that coming up next year at 12:30 here on YHC. You can catch it also this evening at 6:30 and Sunday at 3. Watch anytime on our website at yhctv.com and our Facebook and YouTube pages, that replay of Dexter and New Madrid. And that's going to do it for us today. Appreciate you for tuning in. We'll see you next week for another roundtable. We'll have a lot more games and a lot more action to report on from this week. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.